wanted to search for a really unique soap, perhaps one for the little boys. Today we're going to make this really fun shifter or spanner soap using the spanner mold from Renaissance Bath & Body. It doesn't use too much soap, so for our project today what you're going to need is the spanner, silicone mold. You're going to need some ultra white. You could also use the ultra clear, but for today we'll use the ultra white melt and pour soap base. You don't have to add colour to this because we're going to use the silver mica powder to make it look like metal later on, but I'm going to add a little bit of the black pigment to make it quite dark so it'll pick up the pigment more easily. And I was thinking, what fragrance sort of is kind of an earthy, kind of blokey type fragrance? So I've decided to go with our Balance Essence Oil, which is a sandalwood and cedarwood blend. So let's get started. Firstly, I've chopped up a little bit of the white melt and pour soap base here. I'm only going to need a very small amount, so I don't need a jug today. I'm just going to use a little silicone cup and just put a little bit of the soap base in here and melt that in the microwave. You can use any heat source, but for today we'll use the microwave on 30-second bursts. And then we're going to add the black to it and the sandalwood. So while it's melting, let's prepare our mold. Give the black a bit of a shake. All of your pigments, always shake them so they don't settle. And the same with your essence oil, a little bit of a shake with the essence oil. And because the mold does have some fine details in it, we want to make sure we get the soap into that so that it doesn't get any air bubbles in it. We're going to give that a light spritz with the isopropyl alcohol. This will break any surface tension and assist the soap to flow throughout. It's not 100% melted, but it's pretty close, and we don't need all of it, so that will be okay. A couple of drops of the black pigment and a little bit of the essence oils, probably about 5 or 6 drops came out then. Give that a nice stir. As I said, we're going to colour it later, so the colour really doesn't matter too much at this point, but we've made it a sort of a metallic-y grey colour. Give your mould a spritz with the isopropyl alcohol, and then just slowly, these are great because you can bend them, just slowly fill that up. Keep pouring until it's full. Make sure it goes all the way around the end. A little bit more, and you'll see that's got quite a few bubbles on the surface there, so we can just give that a spray of alcohol just to do it. And if you find that it hasn't quite gone down into the end, as that one hasn't, just use your stirrer just to bring it down and make sure that it fills up all those fine details. Now, because that's so small, it's going to set really quickly. I'm only going to need to leave that on the bench for about 5 to 15 minutes, something like that. So I'll clean up the space and we'll come back and unmold it together in a couple of moments. Our spanner is set now, so it's ready for us to unmold. It's already in the grey soap, but we're going to use the silver cosmetic mica in order to make it really look like metal. So it's such a fun little mold, and of course because it's a silicone mold, it's just so easy to pop out of the mold and to get such a realistic looking finish. Now it already looks fantastic, but we also want to really make it look like metal. So we're going to take a little bit of the silver, dust it off on your hands, and then just brush it all over your shifter, and you'll notice how the whole thing starts to look like it's actually made out of metal by finishing it this way. So take your mica. The reason I dust it on my hands is just so I don't get big lumps or clumps of it as we're working. And you can see how it starts to look more like metal and less like soap each time you colour it all up. And last finishing touches anywhere that you think you need a little bit more silver. You can run it around the sides as well if you want to. It's not necessary, but especially in these little tiny details. And you'll notice it has some tiny writing on it that you didn't really see so much before when it was soap. But once you put your mica on it, all of those little tiny details begin to show up. And here is your finished spanner made with the spanner mold and the Renaissance silver mica.